All right. I didn't plan on this to be a big fucking rant podcast this time, but holy shit, dude. Fucking Unity, dude. And I'm sure all these motherfuckers are saying, oh my God, Eric, you're an idiot. You don't understand what you're talking about. You got this one wrong. No, I did not. No, I did not on this particular one. All right. So Unity announced their earnings and the stock was up like 30%, right? There was a whole lot of bullshit going on. And I have to give Bromberg some credit, dude. The guy absolutely did the look over there type strategy.
Oh, yeah.
And it worked flawlessly. So here's what happened. They report earnings. They actually did a reasonably good job in the seasonally strong Q4, right? I'll give them that. But their guidance was like well below consensus for Q1. And so he knew that this was going to happen, right? Like literally like Q1 is down 15% year over year, 15% margins, like absolute shit business, right? Compared to something like AppLovin, which is absolutely destroying it, right? And so the stock from the press release was down 10%. That is an acceptable response to that earnings release. Okay. But when they got on the talking points, they started talking about this new platform called Vector, right? And this new platform called Vector is getting launched in the next few months, and it is going to revolutionize the growth segment of Unity, right? So the stock just went through the fucking moon. It was up like 30% or something like that. And I have to think that this is the dumbest stock move in recent history. Like this is really, 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 really dumb. Basically, I think Bromberg was throwing out this notion about Vector to offset the shitty guide for Q1, right? That is what good stewards of publicly traded companies will do, right? And he threw out something there that investors seem to get excited about. And so you got to respect the misdirection. It is pretty amazing. That is big company CEO shit, dude. Good stuff. Okay. But as I said many times, this is a hedge fund hotel, right? This stock. The hedge funds are trading in and out of the stock constantly. This and AppLovin, it is like a fucking mess of shareholders. This is not Fidelity, T. Rowe, like investing in the long-term prospects of the company. These are like really fast traders that are going in and out of this stock. So this was what was known as a technical short squeeze, right? So there are a lot of people short this stock, right? And so this, like the hope of a new platform coming out, just squeezed the shit out of these shorts, right? And that was the fundamental problem, right? Okay. And there also is a huge disconnect between the valuation of AppLovin and Unity, clearly, because AppLovin is absolutely destroying it and Unity is not. So the notion is that this is like a free ride to invest on the less than 0% chance that actually Unity pulls this shit off, right? So let's throw the money in because you're going to make your money back. All right. There are a couple of reasons why this will never work. First of all, the chief architect of this new system was Jim Payne, who went from chief product officer in August of 2024 to advisor skiing on the slopes of Aspen 5 months later, right? So the guy's fucking out to lunch, dude. He ain't helping you. This guy was a fucking genius who created Macs and who created Mopub systems, whatever, dude. This guy's gonzo, right? And the second thing that's absolutely nuts is that IronSource isn't part of this transition at all. They're like keeping it as a standalone product and letting it die on the motherfucking vine, right? Like this is fucked up. Like they are completely sidelined. These were their engineers. Not only that, when they did the acquisition, they were transitioning all the ad tech shit, the growth solutions to IronSource. Like that was their stated strategy. Now they're pulling all the shit back, and sunsetting IronSource. This makes no sense, dude. Fuck it. The Israelis know what they're doing, dude. Stop it, right? And not only that, like even from a functional perspective, if they're not investing as much into IronSource, that is the lion's share of their revenue associated with the growth segment. So if they're prioritizing that, the revenue drag from that is going to be pretty significant, right? And the other most important thing is that there is not one motherfucking person in the entire deconstructive fund community that's ever even heard of Vector, right? Vector is total vaporware, right? It has completely not been proven, not been tried, right? And so like, we have no idea whether this thing is had. So, and I think fundamentally, the problem I keep hearing about Unity is that it's garbage in, garbage out. They do not have good data, right? So if they don't have good data, they can't create a good system, right? And you can't get good data without a good system. It's impossible, right? It's like the chicken and the egg thing. So it's not much they can do to compete against AppLovin at this stage of the game. And then again, they are hopelessly outmatched by AppLovin, and not to mention like Facebook and Google, right? And I'm sure Adam at AppLovin was like fucking laughing out loud when they announced the vector thing, right? It's like, who are these guys, right? So I just think AppLovin is fundamentally so far ahead that they can't catch up. Why this may work. Jim Payne, in his 5-month tenure, may have had enough impact to get this thing off the ground, right? And let them carry the torch. Nonsense. That's not happening, right? I will say, from a marketing perspective, Vector is a fucking cool goddamn name. I'll give him that. Dude, that's so much better than Max. Adam, eat your heart out, dude. Vector is dope. Absolutely dope. I love it, right? Whatever marketing genius came up with this shit, they should get like half of the $2 billion market cap that they just increased.
So technically, Axon 2 is the UA platform and Max is the mediation platform. So it's Max and Level Play, Vector, and Axon 2.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's fine.
Number 3. I do still think that there are numerous people in the UA community that want AppLovin to get knocked down a few notches, right? I think they feel that AppLovin is extractive of the overall industry from a margin perspective. Like they are collecting the majority of the margin on UA. And so will be willing to try new systems to see if they can get the return on investment that they are getting from AppLovin. So there will be some kind of impetus to try. The other thing that I think from a stock perspective, if you are so inclined, is that the early metrics actually might be good, right? Because any new system will actually potentially have low-hanging fruit. However, what's going to be really critical is scale and depth, right? And this may take a while to prove out, as the system, again, has been not proven at all, right? So like no one knows like if this thing's going to work. I guess another thing that kills me is that why would you spend so much goddamn money on engineers in California, in San Francisco?
Yeah.
You know, like how much money are you throwing at these people to create this shit? You know, like it's like, really? There's not a better way of doing this? I don't know. I don't know enough about this, like the technical side of it, but yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
Well, thank you for giving marketers credit for making a great name. Although that was pretty funny for me that you called that out. So I was actually a little bit confused when I heard that name and it was like, well, but you already have Iron Source. Like, so why wouldn't you upscale or, do a 2.0 or Iron Source AI? Like why? And I guess they're just trying to move away from the old business. And, they let go of the folks that created that and were running it. And maybe they're just trying to like completely rebrand and say, we have something brand new and we're building this from scratch. But so here's what I thought was really interesting when I was reading about it. Quote, Vector is designed to leverage data from across the Unity ecosystem, integrating self-learning artificial intelligence models that will provide deeper insights, optimize performance, and deliver better results for customers, said Romberg. So what exactly is this magical data that the Unity ecosystem is learning from? So I just did a little bit of digging because, like, not that I'm a privacy nerd, but I was like, it feels like going back to Google Maps and everything that Google gives us for free. It's like you give up your data in order to get these free services. So it does feel like there's a crap ton that they're pulling from. So that privacy safe, quote, Unity ID is going to follow users across the Unity ecosystem of 70% of the top 1,000 mobile games run on Unity. 2.5 billion devices have Unity installed games, and it's cumulative installs. 4 billion MAU across half of mobile games. Unity is the engine that has all of this with the Unity ID. So then you think about what Iron Source brings. Programmatic demand, access to 230K apps in the Unity Exchange, which is, the RTB at scale. Creative AI, they auto-generate thousands of ad variants from a single asset. Mediation from Level Play manages competing ad networks in real time. Are they borrowing that data, or is Vector going to learn from that data? So it's a lot of data to train on. I know you said garbage in, garbage out, but there is a lot of data in the system because of the Unity engine. And, all of this is rolling out. They said Q1, so we're end of February. So there are starting to be some tests, but it's going to be months and months and months before this learns enough to even have a hope of catching AppLovin's Axon 2. So I think it's nice that they're trying, but it's going to be a while.
There's 2 points that need to be made here. First point is that they do not collect data from the majority of their customers. Like the notion that if Candy Crush is using Unity's engine, that they're going to get the data from Candy Crush is a complete fallacy. It's fucking bullshit, right? There's just no way that third parties are allowing them to collect data on their customers, period. End of sentence, right? Even the company keeps saying this. Sure, I'm sure there's certain companies that are doing that, right? Like the small rinky-dink ops, right? And if that were the case, honestly, they've had access to this data for decades, right? So why is it now that they're finally like unlocking this? It doesn't even make sense. He actually said this the CEO said this in his press release. It's all bullshit, right? And the fundamental problem is what happened is that they zigged when they should have zagged, right? When Apple started doing IDFA, they assumed that fingerprinting was not going to be allowed. And so they zagged away from fingerprinting to find other ways of trying to identify and track customers' data, right? And that was the wrong move. App 11 went straight for fingerprinting and they won, right? And they built systems around that and built a fucking huge moat of customers and access and data that has led them to the leadership position that they have now. And so now Unity is trying to get back to the fingerprinting, as is Facebook is doing it as well. And so like they're literally hopelessly behind is what the problem is, right? And so maybe this new system will help them get there and be competitive. It's still unclear, but it doesn't seem very likely, at least at scale. On a side note, it just came out this morning and I just have read through it briefly, but Fuzzy Panda Research.
Great names. Talking about naming.
Yeah. Fuzzy Panda.
Reputable.
Yeah, exactly. They wrote this like scathing, like short report, similar to the report that was written about Roblox a few months ago, alleging that AppLovin Corporation engages in unethical practices to drive its revenue growth. The report claims that AppLovin's AI platform is involved in ad fraud by manipulating ad metrics, employing deceptive advertising techniques, killing small babies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, it also highlights that the AppLovin's tracking of children and serving inappropriate ads to minors. Like they had to throw that in there, right? They had to throw some pity shit bullet in there, right? Anyway, this reminds me that the whole fucking ad tech business is a dirty business from the get-go, right? Like this is a fucking shitty business, you know? And so these guys will sell their mother's kidneys for $1. You know, it's like no one is above board in this system, right? Facebook, Google, Apple, like it's just it's gross, right? So anyway, we will see what happens with this. Apple stock was down as much as 20% today because of this report. Ooh. I think it's much to do about nothing. I think these are just normal practices of this shitty fucking business. But like, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this.
All right. Okay.